Part 4, everyone. SF Blast. So SF Blast is pretty, I think, easy to see because someone's trying to tell you what your behavior is or how you should act and behave. One of the most evil person in the world was typed as an ISFJ. It's like Hitler. And and he's trying to like tell everyone how they should like behave and stuff, which is kind of messed up how powerful SF Blast can really be. In the hands of an evil person, obviously. So what is your how do you use SF Blast? How do you tell people how to behave, and when do you correct them? Part of SF Blast is also trying to make people feel comfortable too, so it's not all bad, right? There's like a dark and light side to the SF Blast. So for example, if Isaac is bleeding, then Rose might go up to Isaac and be like, hey, you should take care of that. Let's go take care of that because we don't want you to die, right? So let's start with Isaac first. Isaac, you are lead SF Blast.
Yep. Yeah, so I am the unpopular kid in the front of the class who is trying to make everybody pay attention. Actually, that's a true story. Like I mentioned this in our interview before, but in the big choir class, I was like, yeah, it's time for FE singing time with everybody, and then obviously like the EPs and literally just everybody other than me behind me was just talking, and they wouldn't stop talking, and I wanted us to focus on the happy singing times with everybody. And so I would routinely like turn around in my seat and like shush them. And it was not a fun thing to do, and it was not well received, but it did get them to shut up. So I kept doing it. And it's like that's exactly I think what it is. It's like there must be order and we must vibe together. And if you're not doing that, then go away. But at the same time, it's like if you're actually caring about the FE, then you'll see that everybody is starting to hate you, and you'll see that that is not popular at all. And then you'll realize, okay, maybe if I don't want to get burned at the stake, I need to stop doing this. And so, yeah, like that was like the most extreme example of when I went overboard with the SF Blast. But I mean, I have it double activated, and yeah, it can get out of hand. I feel like SF Blast is the kind of thing where if you're not careful, it is self-defeating. So it only works if people are willing to listen to it, or if they really, really recognize you as an authority. Otherwise, it's just super annoying.
That's some good self-awareness there, Isaac, about the SF Blast.
Yeah, or it's also effective if people don't realize that you're doing it. So one of the ways it's sometimes described as like FE shaming, kind of. But on one hand, you have FE trying to make people feel comfortable, but SF Blast, I think, can also be used to purposely make people uncomfortable, not to the point that they realize that you're trying to move them, but just to the point that they adjust their behavior because they feel uncomfortable. And if you can do it really deftly, then you can move people before they realize that they've been moved, and then it becomes super, super effective. Kind of like how I slap Kendrick around.
So, Emily, since we're already in this topic, you have double masculine, SF Blast. You're going to be the most aggressive at this. And you know what they say, the real controlling person is actually the EP. So talk about being the most controlling person.
Yeah, well, you tell us. How does it feel, Kendrick?
It feels horrible. Go.
Yeah, I mean, and I realize that that's how it feels too. And that's kind of why I do it, because I'm a little troll. I'm a little asshole. So there you go.
But how do you like, what are you doing? Like when do you do it for good, besides just being a troll? I obviously you're a troll, but like when you're not, like when you're not trolling, you're at work, whatever.
Yeah, I don't, well, it's a demon for me, right? So I don't use it intentionally very often. Because it's so difficult, and because it's so unwieldy, like with double masculine energy, it's like really easy to go overboard and like slap people around a little too hard and then hurt people's feelings and all of that sort of thing. So when I'm trying to use it effectively, basically I'm doing what I said a minute ago, is noticing things that need to align in the vibe and just trying to make people just uncomfortable enough to move, but not so much that they get upset, which it's a fine line to walk, but if you can like double decide your way through, then people like to have you around because you'll kind of create these vibe waves, but it's okay because people, they learn to ride it with you.
Let's go with Rose next. So Rose, you are just like Isaac, double activated SF blast.
Yeah. Well, and I was listening to Isaac and I was like, I think I kind of see what he's doing, but also that I'm doing something different. So like when I was younger, like when I was in middle school, I was like, yes, let me respect the teacher and I'll be an honor student. But at some point I realized that it, like you said, it defeats the SF part, like, because you're not popular when you're the teacher's pet. So I completely switched that around, like starting at, I don't know, 14 or something. But I do also see what Emily says about being a troll as a double decider. So the way I would kind of rig the game in my favor is I was breaking all of the rules behind everyone's back, completely breaking all the rules, but to their face, because I was following their rules and I was being nice to the teachers, I never got in trouble. I went 4 years of high school of breaking all the rules. Like, I won't say what I did on this, but being nice to people's face. And so I guess when you're talking about
that's hilarious because I make a lot of noise about breaking the rules, but I actually don't break that many rules. So we're like doing the opposite thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm doing the same thing that you're doing too, Rose. Like I did the same thing. Like I broke all the rules behind the teachers' backs and they never found out.
Yeah, because you have that SF nice person. Everyone assumes people with SF blast are nice and like do-gooders, and it's just very funny. Like you can get away with a lot because of that, which is creepy to say, but it's true, and I feel like it should be said. But yeah, then I mean that just got boring, right? So, but the way I see it as an adult, as a non-asshole teenager, I see myself like with SF blast, just noticing when priorities are going off the rails. Like we're in a group, I'm managing people and they're paying attention to like something really small. And I'm like, yo, the contract says that if we don't do this over here, we're not going to get paid. So maybe that little thing over there doesn't matter as much as getting paid. So it's like, let's refocus on what's important here. And that's what I see myself doing with SF blast, but it's also first. So
that's so cool that the IJs are the real troublemakers. The EPs are actually listening to the rules. That's a weird irony there. And I think Rose, you had like some kind of like chaotic T-shirt that you used to wear too, or something. I think you posted about that.
Yes, I used to make my own T-shirts to peacock my OE. I would hand paint them, and I won't say what it said on them, but yes. I did.
Yeah, I remember that. It was hilarious. It was
Can
like,
you please make us all T-shirts? Offensive T-shirts, OE T-shirts.
Oh, but speaking of the troll thing, I just bought a hat that says scammer. And the idea is, I think it's so funny that someone who thinks I'm so nice, and then I'm wearing a hat that says I'm messing with you, and the cognitive dissonance that it creates, like, it's funny to me as a double decider, you know? I think that's my demon in me coming out, you know?
Yeah, it seems like you are causing a lot of chaos. Maybe it's the masculine NE, you know? It's like, yeah, it's fun. Let's cause some chaos. It sounds like Rosie causing more chaos than Emily, actually. It's kind of like a weird thing. What about you, Julie? SF Blast, you have a third. So it's activated.
Yes, and it's so funny because my story for it is so deciding because I was like, everything Emily had said earlier, I was like, yes, except I make sure the person knows afterwards that I do it, so that if they realize later that I did it, they won't be upset later, right? Like I have to like weigh that whole like tribe thing, but I definitely gained my blast in my 20s, and I taught chemistry for a while, and yeah, like the first little while I taught chemistry, you know, everyone hated me, but then I learned some things about it, and my students came up to me years later and they were like, Julie, guess what? We still turn to each other and say, well, what do you think? Like, because I didn't even know that was my thing I was doing, but I use my SF to guide people, I guess, to the Ne+Ti, right? It's I like to get people to understand a thing, and I do use it when like I have to be very intentional about it, right? Like it's effort for me, but I do use it to try to lead people somewhere. I even like did it with my husband recently. Like we were like, you know, having a baby, we're really readjusting our lives, and I had been trying to make a point to him over and over again, and he just wasn't getting it. And then I was like, okay, let's get him to get there, right? And again, SF lower, it is kind of harder for me. I really had to like think it out, but I brought him there. But then because I'm a decider, I'm like, okay, and we just did this, so let's be cool about it. Even though he's an observer, I'm sure he didn't really care anyway.
Yeah, I did notice that people with SF Blast, you guys have like a one-liner or like a catchy catchphrase. So I think that's a good. I don't know if you all do that, but I mean I've seen some people do it. I guess maybe not all of you. Maybe this pattern's not gonna work out.
So I just left a job and wait, hold on.
That's so chaotic.
Just left a job and now is leaving this interview.
Chaos for you. My coworkers made some art for me of all of us, and they put my little catchphrase right here, my options open catchphrase. Because every time they would ask me something like, "What are we supposed to do about XYZ?" I would always be like, "Well, this is all the possibilities that we could deal with, but it's not been decided yet, so we'll see." And that was like something that I would always say is like, "We'll see," because you know, options open. And yeah, so I do have like little catchphrases like that I say at people all the time just to like get them off my back.
All right, Andreas, you're the last guy. You are a blaster to hell. Like since we started this interview, not to just making fun of you a little bit. You're double activated blast also, but you're an IP, so it's like it's kind of interesting. How do you blast people? How do you make people behave a certain way?
Good question. I feel like, you know, the devil is in the details. You know, I feel like it's not the typical thing of like I'm saying anything or I'm trying to make you learn anything. It's more like I'm setting the room in a specific way to make you feel a specific certain feelings. I'm really bad at it though. I'm really bad at it though, but I care much about it. I really do care much about it. You know, trying to sending the right signal, I guess. Again, I'm bad at it, but I really care about, you know, trying to come off the right way, and not the right way in that sense that I'm the coolest guy in the room or whatever. The right way that I don't provoke you, but I still can give you the truth of the reality and what it is, but not provoking you because, you know, the truth have a tendency to provoke people, and kind of, yeah. So I feel like that. But a funny thing though, actually, I thought of when I was going to school. It was pretty funny. The teacher was actually pretty afraid of me. Really afraid of me, but not because I was the guy in the classroom that was shouting the loudest or doing all the chaos in the class. I was not. I was just sitting there calmly listening, didn't say a word. I didn't want to say a word in school. But you know, in my school, we weren't allowed to have any form of sweet or candies or anything like that. But the school teachers, they have a room where there was candy. And I pretty fast, you know, figured that there was candy in there. And I don't care about candy. I really don't care. But you know, that feeling of, you know, you don't get to decide for me. You don't get to, you know, funny enough, control me. I was just, I can play you. You think you can play me? No, I can play you. So I remember, you know, doing all these kind of sneaky ways just to get behind of the control, because I could see the control, and it just pissed me off that the teacher thought he had me. So, you know, it was this kind of game, and I'm still playing it. And I feel like the way that I use the blast is just to set the room up, to cheat you, to think you won, but you actually didn't. And I will shut up about it. I don't care. I got my prize. You know, I will laugh behind your back with my friends and say, "Can you see this bag of candy? I got this shit." And I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's just, you know, setting up the right vibe with not necessarily with words. Sometimes it would, but I'm not so good with words. Like in rap songs, I am, but not, you know, like this, just on the fly. So yeah, a third thing, and then I will completely shut up. Is no, I have two more if that's time, and I will go fast. With my girlfriend, I actually have produced these, you know, class producing drawing, these uh, these things, kind of, yeah, if you can see that. And I've done a lot of them, and you know, I have a tendency to like build these weird things to make other people happy, I guess. And you know, and it's not, I'm not building something that I'm interested in, no, necessarily, is something I know will make you happy, you know, making a gift card or whatever. The third thing is my blast is masculine, and I've seen that my blast is extremely dangerous. Like I'm actually pretty fearful of it, especially the masculine FE. I've talked about it before in the last interview, how if you really get me mad, I will get this aggressive Hulk-like thing, and it's really dangerous because, you know, I'm not a strong guy, but out of the blue, I become the most strong fighter in the world, and it's fucking scary, like where that come from. And I would just, you know, it's not just, you know, fighting like that. I will control you. I will manipulate you. I will fuck with you mentally with words and trying to, you know, get into my little spider web and trap you. And I'm seeing how fucking evil it becomes. Like it's more evil than just being a stupid idiot, you know, who's just drunk and trying to hit people. It's more evil, and I'm fucking afraid of it. I'm actually afraid of it. It's really fucking scary that I can go to that swing, and I'm so unconscious of it. Now I have built some tricks to get myself out of it. But once I go into that beast mode, it's fucking scary. Yeah, it's fucking scary. I don't know, man.
I think you also SF blast by rapping, and I think that whole spiel that you just did, you sounded like you were rapping actually. So that was a
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Cool.
Especially when you were saying how you're gonna like destroy people, you know, like it sounds like you were like spitting some beats.
Yeah, I'm used to it, I guess. I don't know.
All right, guys. So does anyone have any more last minute comments before we wrap up this panel interview? I know some of you have a time limit, and I think we covered all bases. So anything last minute? Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up. And not even for my sake. Let's just kidding. All right. So yeah. So thanks everyone for coming out. In respect to everyone's time, we're gonna go wrap up this panel interview. So thanks everyone for coming out here and, you know, sharing about your functions, your animals, and, you know, some of the weird stuff that you do. So, you know, this is all good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna end this interview right now. So bye everyone. All right, there's a silent wave. And that's it.